It's Friday, June 27th. Welcome back to Cardinal Territory. And dare I say, Bernie, I'm a little disappointed after the Cardinals' latest 4-game set against the Chicago Cubs. They split the series, and you and I both said that we'd be okay if the Cardinals and Cubs split this series. And then what happened? St. Louis played 2 thrilling games in game 1 and 2 and fell very flat in games 3 and 4. So I'm a little disappointed. Now, I didn't expect them for a 4-game sweep, of course, but I also thought they would score more than one run in their final 23 innings of that series, but I was mistaken. Welcome back to Cardinal Territory and happy Friday. Katie and Bernie back with you. Yeah. I am in Cleveland this weekend. I will rejoin the team in Pittsburgh on Monday, but plenty of things to talk about still. Let's start about that series, Bernie. Your thoughts on a series split against the Cubs?
You know, my position on 4-game series is like I go in expecting that there'll be a split, right? Because it ain't easy to win even 3 out of 4 games. Okay, it can happen. So anyway, I thought, well, Cubs are a better team, 2-2 split. That's probably my expectation. But I think I said, I think I said on this show, but I can't remember for sure, but I know I said it maybe in one of my lousy videos. But it's kind of how it plays out. Like, in other words, if the Cardinals had lost the first 2 games of the series and then they battle back and they win the final 2 and they get a split, you're like, hey, that feels like a victory because it could have been so much worse. Well, the exact thing happened. I mean, the Cardinals scored 16 runs and hit 7 homers in the first 2 games. You know, the Cubs were just kind of, what's the word? You know, I'm not going to say they were knocked down or out, but they were kind of like, whoa, you know. And then the Cardinals come out the final 2 games and do absolutely nothing. They don't score. They, you know, Boyd and Imanaga are good. Don't get me wrong. Tip of the cap and all that. But come on. I mean, they hit 105 against those 2 starters. Just did nothing. Nothing. And they didn't score a run against the Cubs bullpen the entire series. And yesterday they had, well, in the last 2 games, they had a chance to get into the Cubs bullpen and do something. And yesterday's game was certainly winnable. But like you said, they just went flat. And so in that context, it was a really disappointing 4-game series because it should have been better. And they let an opportunity slip away. And when you got the Cubs lined up, you can't let them slip away. You gotta knock them down when you can.
Yeah, it's a good Cubs team. And we'll get to this later in the show, but you're right about Boyd and Shota. What do they have in common? They're lefty starting pitchers, and that the Cardinals just are not fair or stacked up currently with the way their roster looks to compete well against lefty pitchers. But Bernie, I think you're spot on here. It was disappointing because it could have been a lot better, especially after the first 2 games. Game 2, Tuesday, the 8-7 win. Mason Wynn scores from second base on a sac fly. Nolan Arenado saving the game with clutch defense. I mean, that's as fired up as the team had been all season. So then to come out on Wednesday and Thursday, and, you know, Wednesday's games are going to happen every now and then, just a clunker from the start. Thursdays was frustrating. Shota looks great. I mean, there's a reason that he's one of the aces in the National League coming back from the IL. There was really nothing they could do about him. And that Cubs bullpen is very underrated. It's very, very good. Danny Palante, we saw him. I mean, that is nasty. From the slider to hitting 101. They have their own Ryan Helsley out there in the 9th. But I agree with you, Bernie. It was, you know, I know we said we'd take the split, but on a series like that, when you win the first 2 games in such exciting fashion and you put yourself in a position to take the series and make up some ground in the NL Central, neither of those things happened. So the good news is the Cardinals will play the Cubs again 1 week from today. They are beginning today a 3-city road trip: Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Chicago. So they have a chance to avenge themselves, if you will. We'll see how that goes, though, because this Cubs team is very, very good.
Yeah. And you know, the one thing too, like, you know, it would be great if the Cardinals can go into Wrigley Field and win 2 out of 3. I'm not greedy. 2 out of 3 would be fine. Be good. But that also means you can't screw up in Cleveland or Pittsburgh because, you know, if you lose 2 out of 3 to the Indians, so whatever reason Guardians, every now and then I say that. If you lose 2 out of 3 in Cleveland and then you go in Pittsburgh, where they did lose a series earlier this year, you know, somehow you get beat there, you lose 2 out of 3 or whatever. Well, you know, if you go to Chicago and win 2 out of 3 at Wrigley Field, it's like kind of like, so what, you know, because so they can't mess up before they get there.
Yeah, and Cleveland's a good team. Pittsburgh is a team. But Cleveland is a very good team, so that should be a good test for them over the weekend. You have your ace on the mound in Sonny Gray tonight. They go Sonny, Miles, Libby in Cleveland, and then Pittsburgh. Going to have to take care of business. It's still a division matchup. I know that the Pirates have not been good and have really taken a turn since the Cardinals last played them, but you can't count anyone out. And then you hope to do better in Wrigley over 4th of July weekend. Right. A couple of roster moves that happened through that series. Garrett Hamson claimed off waivers from the Reds. Jose Barrero DFA'd. Jose Fermin recalled. Jordan Walker placed on the injured list. We're putting out good vibes for Walker, dealing with some appendicitis. Ollie Marmol said Walker actually had to spend the night in a in a hospital during the series. So we hope that Jordan Walker is okay on the mends to recovery. It sounded like he was doing much better on Thursday morning, but he would not be able to play for at least a week, hence the IL stint. That is retroactive to June 23rd. So we will see Jose Fermin as the 26th man. Garrett Hamson looks like he'll start in center field against lefties. Victor Scott is swinging the bat better overall. And this is going to be a work in progress with him, so I get it. But Hamson does hit lefties pretty well. I know that nobody did over the series against Chicago, but we should see him start in center field on days Victor Scott is not, and that leaves Barrero DFA'd. So doesn't really impact the overall playing picture too much. One thing I could not fit on the banner is that Lars Nootbaar was out for the last 48 hours. I'm sure that did not help with the offensive production. He took what's the word? I always mess this up. Anti-inflammatory shot in his intercostal area, so around his rib cage on Tuesday. So he's down for 48 hours. Talked to Ollie Marmol on Thursday afternoon. He said the plan is for Nootbaar to go to Progressive Field, to go through all the normal pregame stuff, all the normal tests, and their plan is to have him back in the lineup today. So that should help. But yeah, Cardinals bench a little thin right now without Jordan Walker, who just can't seem to catch a break. And we'll see Garrett Hamson when needed, I guess.
Yeah, Garrett Hampson's an interesting player. I kind of enjoy watching him play in the same way that I enjoyed watching Michael Ciani play. And I'm saying that with I don't know if I'm attempting a joke here. I'm not joking about either one of them, but it's almost like, well, they went out and found their right-handed hitting version of Michael Ciani. I mean, they're basically the same guys. One hits left, one hits right. And they both can go get the ball. I mean, so Hampson, I think, is a smart pickup. They clearly, and every Cardinals fan knows this, they clearly had to do something better than to go with Jose Barrero in center field as the right-handed option, because they weren't going to play Nootbaar much in center field, and I don't blame them. So, and Hampson might be that extra reliever they need too. I mean, that was a pretty good emergency reliever job the other night. I mean,
3 pitches, 3 outs. At that point, nothing. Pace of play matters the most to me. So thank you, Garrett.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I feel really bad for Walker, because he really had it going. I mean, he really had it going about the 10 or 12 games before he suffered the wrist injury. And since he's been back, we talked about it last week, although I think I cheated him out of a base hit. Once he got off the IL, he's 3 for 18, now appendicitis. I mean, it's just like there always seems to be a bad moon rising over this guy. I mean, it's just he just can't get a break, and there's just setback after setback. So this is a shame, but most importantly is his health. I hope he's doing better.
I hope so too. And Cardinals hope that he'll be back maybe towards the second half of this road trip. So those are your roster moves for the week. I didn't even get into the pitching. Svenson's up. We knew that was happening after McGreevy went down for his spot start. So more about McGreevy, and basically, I really do want to talk about this, Bernie, because I think it's really interesting. Sure. The Cardinals against lefty pitchers lately, not trending in a good direction. We'll get into that after a quick word from Hule.
FT fam, did you know that Hule has sold over 500 million meals around the world, and now it is your turn to try it. While I drink it.
Drink up, Scott, so I can discuss Hule and how I love it. I had some for breakfast this morning. I like to drink it post-workout because of the protein included in it. It always tastes delicious, whether it's strawberry, banana, chocolate, vanilla, whatever the flavor is. It tastes like a dessert, honestly. It should not taste as good as it does.
I agree. New customers get 15% off plus a free gift at Hule.com when you use the FT code. That is FOUL, F-O-U-L, at Hule.com/FOUL. Don't miss out. Try Hule today for a perfectly balanced meal. If you miss a meal, if you're looking for a little protein boost, you just saw me drinking the Black Edition, ready to drink. There's the vanilla flavor. I love what the chocolate brings to the table. It's really damn good. So give it a shot, FT fam. 15% off plus a free gift for new customers with the code FOUL.
All right. I saw the stat on Twitter. So thank you to @JacobE_STL for posting the Cardinals versus left-handed pitchers last series hit .083/.102/.104. Bernie, is that good?
No, it really isn't. And, it continues a trend. And we were talking about it a little bit before we started recording, but the Cardinals in the first month of the season against left-handed starting pitchers, they did really well, actually. Then in May, they didn't do as well, but they were okay. It was okay. But in June, they're not doing well at all against left-handed starting pitchers, but probably, as Jacob E. said, it probably also applies to left-handed relievers, but especially starting pitchers. Like this month, opposing team starting pitchers have a 3.7 lefty starting pitchers, a 3.70 ERA this month. And the Cardinals have just been completely owned by guys like Abbott and Shota and Boyd and Kershaw and the kid over in Kansas City, the big Cameron. I mean, they've just been really shut down by good lefty starters. And to their credit, I mean, they have had some good performances against lefty starters too. I don't want to pretend that, they're just completely futile against lefty starters. They're not. We saw them beat up on some of them earlier. But particularly this month, whenever they have a kind of a solid or better left-handed pitcher starting against them, it's been a struggle. It has really been a struggle. So I think we know there are some reasons for that.
Yeah, there are. Being without Iván Herrera right now, that's certainly one of them. No Lars Nootbaar for the 2 games against the 2 lefties. Look, I know Nootbaar is a lefty hitter, but he's never been super splitty. He hits lefties just fine. No Jordan Walker plays into that. I know it hasn't been going super great for Walker at the plate, but when you are facing 2 good lefties, you want as many righties in your lineup as possible. We've talked a lot about Nolan Gorman and Alec Burleson being better against lefty pitching this year, and they are, but still not to the extent that someone like Iván Herrera would be. Let me pull up Iván Herrera's splits this year. Give me one moment against lefty pitching.
Sure.
Iván Herrera versus righties, 807 OPS. Versus lefties, he's hitting .333 with an OPS of 1.189. So we talked when he went down about Herrera being the most impactful bat. That's true on both sides of the ball, or both sides of the mound, I should say, but it's definitely true against lefties. So being without Herrera really minimizes the offense. Walker, again, could be a big bat against lefties, even if he is struggling a little bit. So now you're relying on guys like Gorman and Burleson when the matchups aren't super favorable. The reason that we didn't see Scott in there and why we saw Hamson twice is because you just can't have 5 lefties going against a lefty starter when your production is so bad. So just being without some key bats, it's not like Garrett Hamson, while I think he's a solid 25, 26-man player, is not going to make or break your offense there. And then you have some guys like, your big right-handed bats, Arenado, Contreras. Contreras had a good series, but couldn't really get a lot going offensively. So Mason Wynn, really the only guy that I thought had some good at-bats against the 2 lefties from the right-handed side. Just goes to show how much the Cardinals miss Iván Herrera's bat. I know that Gorman and Burleson have done a nice job picking up the slack against righties. Of course they have. But when you see a lefty starter, that's when I think you can see some cracks in the offense and you really start to miss Iván Herrera.
There's no doubt about it. And some of their right-handed hitters this month have not been good against lefty pitchers. And I looked up one stat for something I was going to do. I didn't end up using this stat, so I'm happy to use it here. So we're talking about left-handed pitching, right? Now this is starters and relievers, okay? Starters and relievers. This month, Cardinals right-handed batters against left-handed pitching, 196 plate appearances, a 246 average, lousy on base percentage, and his slugging percentage is about 380. So they're about 10% below league average. When you have a definite platoon split advantage opportunity and your right-handed batters can't do better than that against lefties, that's a problem. I mean, that's got to be better than that if possible. But, I was surprised to look at the season long stats and see, like, for example, I had no idea that Mason Wynn, his splits are not good. This is the whole season. They're not good against left-handed pitching. And I was surprised by that for some reason.
Yeah, because he likes hitting against lefties.
Yeah. And, there's other guys that maybe hit for average, but there's not much power. Sajasi, and I'm not blaming him, but he hasn't been able to really do much against left-handed pitchers. And, there's a couple other guys too. I mean, Pages, who had for a time there, was pretty good against lefties. I'm thinking more like last year, but he's been pretty bad against them. They just haven't had. I mean, Pozo can hit lefties, and
Pozo can hit anything.
He can. But boy, Iván Herrera, gosh, his numbers against lefties, as you just offered up, guy's just a beast. He really is. I hope that this is not going to be a recurring thing where he gets hurt a lot.
I hope so not. I really hope not, because we talked about this last episode. I'm not sure what his long-term position is. They don't need to figure that out right now in the middle of June during this reset season, but his bat plays, and we know that. And talked to Iván a couple days over the series where he said he feels good. I know he put on Twitter that he's running the bases, doing some work. So that's really good. He does not think it's going to be 6 weeks. So that's also really good, but that's not official. Of course, you wait for the training staff to say something and for the organization. But for Herrera to be out running the bases before games, being able to go in and do some light work, that's an encouraging sign in the right direction. Maybe he'll be back after the All-Star break. That would certainly be a win for the club. But right now in this stretch leading into the Midsummer Classic, which I can't believe, quick side rant, the Cardinals played their 82nd game on Thursday, Bernie. That means we are over halfway into the 2025 season. And if I did my math correctly the first time, I would have had this episode be the half-point check-in. So that's actually going to be on Sunday. Sorry. It is insane to me that we are halfway through the year.
Quick.
I do not. Every year it goes quick, but this year specifically. But for Herrera, I hope he's back sooner than later, because you're looking at guys like JC to step up. And I like JC. I think that he has a lot of talent. He has a lot of skill. I still think he's pretty raw. And his acclimation to the big leagues is going to take a lot of time. So while I believe the hype is real and I believe he can be an impact major league player, I'm not sure if he's 100% ready for that yet. So he's kind of in here as a matter of circumstance. Again, Garrett Hamson, Jose Fermin, those are your depth pieces. You're really looking at your starting nine with some increased playing time for Alec Burleson and Nolan Gorman to carry your team through the All-Star break. And we know how important the first 2 weeks of July are as we shift to trade deadline mode. So we'll see if the Cardinals can stay afloat now without Walker too, and hopefully without Newbar today. But we'll see. The good news for St. Louis, looking ahead at probables, shout out PR staff member Chris Tuno for this. The Cardinals will only face one lefty against Cleveland. That's going to be on Sunday. Logan Allen, he's 5-5 with a 4.25 ERA. He'll take on Matthew Liberator. That game is on Roku. A lot of weird broadcasting this series. Apple TV tonight, Roku on Sunday, Apple TV again Friday, July 4th, and Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN at 5:10, not 6:08 like normally. That is for Cardinals Cubs on Sunday at Wrigley Field. And I can't think of a more unfortunate scheduling than getting the Sunday night game as the very last night of your 10-day road trip. So that's super fun. If you would like to watch the Cardinals, it will be difficult over the next week and a half.
Listen, I think Roku is really good. Like, and it's free and all this other stuff, but they have some interesting programming. It's clean. They operate it really well. I'm assuming they're going to do a little better this time, though, than that first game. I think it was like kind of funny. I'm not slamming them. I'm just saying it's, they go to 3 or 4 times in that game. They go to the commercial break, and the commercials keep playing and playing and playing and playing. I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Just missed multiple at bats.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. Then and then they come back and it's like 2 outs. It's like, what happened? So
yes,
I don't know. So my point is like, yeah, with all this shuffling around of where games can be seen, it also increases the possibility that there will be some problems. So anyway, but I know it. Listen, I know what baseball's got to do, so I'm not getting on any kind of soapbox. I know that baseball has got to squeeze as much TV revenue as they can, because that's where teams make money, really, a lot of their money. And so, but man, I just wish, and it's easy for me to say, because because I'm hardly great at my job. But I just wish, like, all the people that want to broadcast baseball, just if you want to go in and do that, man, that's great. But be good at it. Be really good at it. So that's all.
That's all. Just be good. Just be better. That's what I tell my my broadcast friends as a joke. They always say, "Well, be excellent," and I say, "Well, be better." But no, Chip and Brad do a wonderful job. Obviously,
They do.
You guys all know how I feel about that broadcast duo. All right, right back to it for our final segment. A very quick message first from Arena Club.
By now, you know about Arena Club. Buy, sell, trade, open up slab packs to get a card that you don't think you could get usually, but the Grails will tell you that, for example, there's an Aaron Judge rookie card in this week's slab packs, so make sure you check those out.
No doubt. Those are what you want, the Grails.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Judge Grail is awesome. Graded. Trade it if you want. Tell you how much it's worth, whatever you want to do. And I'm a big Michael Jordan fan with my 23 shirt on. There's a Michael Jordan Grail in there that I'm looking forward to try to get.
20% off your first slab pack or card purchase at arenaclub.com/foul. Use code FOUL.
Okay. I did it right. Nice. That when I said okay, that was to buy me some extra seconds in case I didn't do it correctly. But here we are firing on a Friday. Andre Palante didn't have his best stuff yesterday. He battled a 4-seam command, which is pretty unusual. That is his best pitch. That's usually what he builds his entire arsenal around. But I thought he did a nice job of staying in the ball game. It certainly wasn't his fault that the Cardinals lost. You can't win if you don't score. But this has been a reoccurring theme. I wrote about it on The Athletic last night on what Palante's long-term future is. I don't know why we do not discuss Andre Palante the same way we do Matthew Liberator, Bernie, when it comes to runway and finding out what you have in a starting pitcher. My gut tells me it's the unpredictability of his nature as a ground ball pitcher, similar to guys like Eric Fetty, Miles Michaelis, and even to some extent Michael McGreevy. Ground ball pitchers every now and then are just going to have a bad outing. So maybe that makes Andre Palante maybe an unfair target of why is he still here. He's still here because I think there's plenty of upside to Andre Palante. And as Ollie Marmol said to reporters before Thursday's start, I will do the censored version of this. Here's what we have in The Athletic. A lot of talk about, well, because people want McGreevy in the rotation. Everyone wants McGreevy in the rotation, you and I included. And the logical thing would be because they cannot DFA Miles Michaelis, so stop asking me. And they are maybe going to trade Eric Fetty. We'll see. I see a lot of fans thinking that logically, all right, we'll just move Palante to the bullpen or move him to AAA. Here's why that's not going to work. Here's what Ollie Marmol said about that. You have a guy that has a unique pitch that's understanding how to pitch at the big league level. If you send Palante down to AAA, he will cut right through that league. His next step in his career is understanding how to continue to combat big league hitters. He's not working on anything specific that reps at a lower level will do him any good. And I completely agree with that. The Cardinals need Andre Palante at the major league level because they need to see how he can continue attacking, especially right-handed hitters. It's why he went back to the minors last year so he could develop that sinker. It's why he's working on a pitch mix that is vastly different than what he's ever used before. Yesterday, he had the most even pitch mix of the season. I went back and checked with his 4-pitch arsenal mixed in the slider and the curveball. That's something that he had never really done in his career, and he has admitted he'd been averse to. I think we're seeing some trends in the right direction. And if the whole primary point of the season was indeed extending opportunity to guys to see where they fit it in the future, you continue doing that with Andre Palante because all things considered, he's been just fine. It's just been a couple of rough outings that I think fans get frustrated at. But if we're going to extend all this opportunity to Matthew Liberator, who's been great, we should do the same with Andre Palante. That's why the Cardinals are sticking with him because they don't yet feel they need to make a decision on Michael McGreevy. Bernie, your thoughts?
Well, I think Liberator is in a different category than Palante because Liberator's got more stuff. He's got more ways to get a hitter out. He's more imposing on the mound. He can throw it by guys. He gets ground balls. He's not real splitty. But, if you look at Liberator, to me, he was the best starting pitcher they had in the first half, even with that little rut that he was in there, because he had the best fielding independent ERA. He had the lowest walk rate allowed, the lowest home run rate allowed, the best strikeout walk ratio. He was better than Sonny Gray and all those things. Mm-hmm. So I think Liberator's I just put him on a different level now. And that doesn't mean like, he's good to go for the next 5 years. But I think, we're seeing a guy that's got a lot of ways to dominate hitters. And Palante doesn't. I mean, he's got to be a grinder. I really admired the way he pitched yesterday because at one point when he was battling, I think it was his final inning, and I'm like, my gosh, that guy, like, somebody rush out there and like take his temperature. I mean, this guy's like ready to keel over. I mean,
Poor guy.
was working like a maniac, and he just looked so hot and bothered, right? But my only problem with Palante, and I understand the overall message. I really do, because I don't know how much he would benefit from going to the minors. And by the other way, and I've been hard on Palante, but his last 4 starts, if we're gonna go bottom line, his last 4 starts, he's got a 2.95 ERA. So he has pulled his performance up, and you are right. He will always be kind of a captive to batted ball luck on ground balls. But the one problem he's had throughout his career is that he's just, he's not good against right-handed pitching, and that's still true. And
first this year.
Yeah, and with considering all the right-handed batters you face, and I think smart managers won't automatically say, well, we got to stack lefty bats against this guy. No, all you got to do is go to Baseball Reference and look at his numbers against righties. 296 this year, 364 on base, 473 slug. I mean, that's got to get better, because it'll be like every start that he goes into, it's like it's all going to hinge on whether right-handed batters can smack him around. And if he can fight him off, that's fine. But that's awfully hard that's really hard to do over and over and over again. And that's why he had such a hard time during that one stretch where his ERA ballooned. It's because right-handed hitters were just really messing him up. So I got mixed feelings about Palante. I like him. I really appreciate his competitiveness. I think he's a smart guy too, but I do wonder about his upside. That's all.
And I think that's fair, especially as you're seeing. And to be fair, this is the first time that he's really tried to change up the sequencing. I mean, when you are good at what you do, Andre Palante had always come advertised as a ground ball pitcher. He still has he's in the top 2% in ground ball rate at 65%. So clearly he's very good at getting the ground ball. But as we know, there is some unpredictability in ground balls. Sometimes they get through, sometimes you get slugged hard. And that happened to Palante from the end of May to early June in that stretch you just referenced. But I have reason to believe in the upside for now, even if the numbers don't reflect it, even if the box score doesn't reflect it some starts, because it's the first time we've seen him really have a full arsenal where he's not just a 2-pitch guy trying to every now and then get guys off with a sinker or a curveball. I mean, he has really developed that sinker to be another weapon against righties, and he's using the curveball a lot more. And his fastball sits 95. If you can mix in a curveball regularly and keep righties off of that with your off speed, the slider is a fine pitch too. Now that 4-seam plays even more, and Palante has a good 4-seamer. It's just about executing it well enough to get better results against righties. And that was the whole point, the big question for Palante this season, right? The big question for Nootbaar was his health. The big question for Libby is, what can he do with a real chance? The big question for Palante is, what can he do against righties with a legitimate game plan, better pitches, and a better arsenal? So I have no issue with the Cardinals continuing to try that out. Michael McGreevy, on the other hand, he has 2 options left, Bernie. Soon, the Cardinals will need to make a decision about where he's going to be for the rest of the year, and it better be the majors or we revolt. It will be the majors. They just have to find a way to put him in there. Ollie Marmol acknowledged that decision is coming, but he said the team is not quite there yet. You think about what they could accomplish over the trade deadline. I agree. But my hope is that we will see McGreevy more consistently in the second half. And honestly, as frustrating as it is, I thought he did a nice job on Tuesday. You hate the 5 spot in the 3rd inning, of course, but he rebounded nice for 2 scoreless after. That's what you're looking at in starts like that for young guys, is how do they recover? It's, in a way, a blessing that we haven't seen McGreevy yet, because that meant that no starting pitcher has gotten hurt yet. As we record this on June 27th, the Cardinals have had a remarkable string of starting pitching health, and they deserve a ton of props for that. That just does not happen in today's game.
Overall, the rotation's been good, and some people might question that, but you know me, I go down a couple layers. Like the Cardinals starting pitching, going into yesterday, they were in the top 5 in the majors for fielding independent ERA. So, okay, Bernie, why do you use fielding independent ERA? Because it measures what a pitcher can control. Like, in other words, the Cardinals are excellent. Their starting pitchers, the whole team is, but their starters, they have a very low walk rate. They have a very low home run rate allowed, right? And, they don't beat themselves per se, right? And so when you just take when you judge them based on what they can control, based on FIP, they're top 5 in the majors. I think plus they they're 4th or 5th in the majors in innings by starting pitching, and their average start 5.5 innings is 2nd best in the National League. I think it's an underrated rotation. I really do.
I agree. I can't believe I'm saying that. I agree.
No, well, it's true, and the only reason is because you're going to have these lousy starts, right? And you're going to have Palante going through a tough stretch, which he did. Fetty is kind of very vulnerable because he has actually benefited from batted ball luck better than anybody they have. So you're going to get these clunkers every now and then, but every team has clunkers. But if you go beneath the surface a little bit and you see that the way that they limit their walks and limit their home runs, and this is the one thing, again, I've talked about a lot, and I'm going to do it one more time. They hit their spots as pitchers. They're starting pitchers. Number 2 in the major leagues as starting pitchers in terms of their location rating. In other words, it's called hitting your spot. And the only way they can control hitters, because they can't strike them out really, other than Sonny Gray and Libby to an extent, they can't miss. They can't miss location a lot. They've got to be consistently precise in where they're trying to locate a pitch. They do that well too. See, I respect that. You know why? They're not throwers, they're pitchers. I believe there's still room in this game for pitchers. So maybe I don't think I'm old school with that, because another reason, and I know we got to wrap this up. Another reason, when you have a rotation that is not strong in terms of strikeout punch, it also means you don't have a bunch of guys throwing 97 all the time. Those guys get hurt. They break, right? You have guys who pitch to contact, but they do it very, very well, and they don't walk people, and they don't give up home runs. They also stay healthy. So, it's just funny how we perceive pitching, the way it's changed through the years. I think there's been a lack of appreciation for guys who just flat out know how to pitch.
And they do. The Cardinals know how to pitch. I think that's a great way to wrap this one up.
Yep.
Yeah, no, the Cardinals aren't going to blow your doors down. We've known that. But they do an exceptional job of pitching to their strengths, like you mentioned, Bernie. No, low walk rate, low home run rate, and they hit their spots. They have really surprised me through the first half of this season. So let's see how it continues. All right, like I said, I'm not in Cleveland with the team. I will rejoin them Monday in Pittsburgh, but I will be working remotely. My favorite series is when I'm not there, but I'm still working them. Yay. Bernie, I will be back with you Sunday for a series recap before I hit the road again. Let's flush this Cubs series. Some positive things to take from it, some not so positive things to take from it. It was a split all the way around in terms of performance, vibes, all of that stuff. We'll start again with a new road trip. For Bernie, I'm Katie. We'll talk to you on Sunday.